Fan 85, The Color of a Weightless Sleep. Welcome, dear friend, to a quiet corner of our channel, and thank you from the deepest reaches of our heart for choosing to spend your precious time here with us. We have woven for you a gentle story, crafted to serve as a warm, comforting hand, guiding you toward a peaceful night's slumber, helping you to drift off with ease. If, as you journey with us, you find a gentle joy in this quiet tale, please do right now. Lend your support by liking this story, subscribing to our channel, and perhaps sharing a gentle comment for it helps us continue to share these moments of tranquility. Before we embark upon our slow descent into the Vale of Somnus, a place where the air shimmers with the very colors of peace, we shall first share a moment of gentle breathing to settle your spirit. Now, let us invite true comfort to our being. Settle yourself, much like a fallen leaf finding its perfect resting place on soft moss. Feel your body sink gently into your mattress, or perhaps into the soft cushions of your chair, allowing every part of you to feel utterly supported and at ease. Adjust your blankets, pull them close as if they were a soft, warm hug, and let your pillow cradle your head, making a cozy nook just for you. This is your special time, a gentle evening pilgrimage where all the busy thoughts of the day may simply unfurl and drift away, inviting a quiet calm into your heart, as soft and pervasive as the glowing colored air found within the veil itself. Let us share a soothing breath together, much like the slow, contented exhalation of the ancient earth. Slowly, gently, draw the air in through your nose, imagining it as a soft lavender light, flowing easily and naturally to fill every quiet corner of your being. Then release it just as gently through your mouth, a soft, almost imperceptible sigh of pure relief. With each slow, deliberate breath, feel your body softening, releasing any small knots of tension you might be holding. Imagine the clean, cool fragrance of the gossamer spores, the faint sweetness of damp earth, and the feeling of impossible lightness, hushing the small, lingering noises you might have carried from your day. If, perchance, your thoughts begin to drift like the luminous spores in the soft air, that is quite all right, dear one. Simply observe them, allowing them to float by like wisps of mist in a shallow dale, and then, with the gentlest kindness, guide your attention back to the steady rhythm of your breathing or to the quiet comfort of my voice. There is nothing left for you to do now, save for listening and allowing the story to carry you into the deep, dreamless rest you so richly deserve. Feel that silent pulse of the Chime-Lilies in your own heart, a steady, resonant hum that gently coaxes your body into a profound state of relaxation. Let any remaining worries simply soften and dissolve like a footprint in soft rain. Now, Let us begin our quiet journey into the heart of the color of a weightless sleep, where the gentle hum of the earth and the soft light of forgotten dreams await to guide you into a serene and deeply restful sleep. Chapter 1. The Soft Descent. One cannot quite say they decided to find the Vale of Somnus, for it is not a place that appears on any known map, nor is it a destination spoken of in travelers' tales. It is perhaps more accurate to say that the Vale decides when a soul is ready to find it. For Oren, a quiet cartographer whose heart had grown weary of charting the sharp edges of the world, that day came without fanfare. It arrived on an afternoon when the sun was a soft, milky pearl behind a thin veil of cloud, and a path no wider than a deer trail and previously unnoticed seemed to sigh open at the side of a well-worn road. It was an invitation written in bent grasses and undisturbed soil, and Oren, asking no questions, accepted it with a tired and hopeful spirit. The path meandered downwards, not steeply, but with a gentle and circuitous patience, as if coaxing its visitor into a slower way of walking. The air grew stiller, softer, and the common sounds of the world, the distant rumble of a cart or the sharp call of a hawk, began to fade, replaced by a quiet so profound it felt like a physical presence. It was then that Oren felt the first true wonder of the place, a weight, a great and unnoticed heaviness that had settled deep in their bones from years of walking the hard earth, simply lifted. It was not a sudden jolt, but a gradual and buoyant release, as if stepping into a calm, clear body of water. With each step, the feeling of lightness grew, settling into Oren's very limbs, making each movement feel effortless and serene. It was then that Oren noticed the air itself. It was not merely air, clear and empty, but something more. It held a light of its own, a soft and internal luminescence that shimmered in slow, shifting veils of the palest rose and a gentle, hazy lavender. The light was not cast upon the landscape, but seemed to be a part of its very fabric, breathing with a slow and silent rhythm that was instantly calming to the soul. It was like walking through the heart of a waking dream, one from which you had no desire to ever awaken. The trees here were slender and pale-barked, their leaves a soft silvery green that drank in the muted light. Even the stones underfoot seemed different, their edges smoothed by eons of quiet and their surfaces cool and pleasant to the touch. The path finally opened into a small circular clearing, a perfect basin of peace, and there, nestled against a gentle rise in the earth, was a dwelling. It was small and humble, built of the same pale, smooth stone and weathered wood as the vale itself, looking as though it had not been built upon the land, but had grown from it like a mushroom after a soft rain. The door, a single plank of silvery wood, was unlatched. It swung open with a barely audible sigh, revealing a single room, clean and utterly peaceful. A simple cot with a thick woolen blanket was tucked into one corner. A small stone hearth, swept clean of any ash, sat against one wall, and a wooden table, scrubbed smooth by time and care, stood in the center of the room. There was a profound sense of welcome in the quiet space, a feeling that it had been waiting, not for anyone in particular, but for anyone who was in need of its gentle sanctuary. The air inside was cool and smelled of dry stone and old peaceful wood. Oren placed their worn satchel on the floor, the sound muffled by the deep quiet of the room. They ran a hand over the rough, comforting texture of the woolen blanket on the cot, its simple reality a grounding anchor in this wondrous place. Looking out the single frameless window, Oren could see the soft, colored air drifting lazily between the pale tree trunks, a sight of impossible and gentle beauty. There was no need to explore further, no urge to understand the mechanics of this strange and lovely magic. The only truth that mattered was the deep, resonant feeling of safety. Here, in this small room, in this quiet vale, the world and its many demands felt a universe away. Oren sat upon the edge of the cot, feeling the gentle buoyancy in the air support them. Their breathing, which for so long had felt shallow and tight, began to deepen, each exhalation a soft release of tension they hadn't known they were carrying. The lavender light outside the window seemed to seep into the room, bathing everything in a serene and sleepy glow. It was a place to set down not just a traveler's pack, but the very weight of being. A place to unburden a weary spirit and let it float, untethered, in the quiet, colored air. Oren felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over them, a quiet thankfulness for the path that had led them here. With a slow and contented sigh, they lay back on the simple cot, pulling the warm, heavy blanket over them, and for the first time in a very long time, felt the promise of a deep and truly restorative sleep. Chapter 2. The Whispering Grove. After a night of sleep so deep and dreamless, it felt like a gentle return to the very source of rest. Oren awoke to the soft lavender light of the Vale's morning. The feeling of weightlessness remained, a constant and pleasant companion that made the simple act of rising feel graceful and easy. A quiet curiosity, gentle and unhurried, led them out of the small stone dwelling and further into the heart of the vale, following no path but the one their feet felt drawn to. The air was cool and carried a faint, sweet scent, like damp earth after a clean rain. Their wandering led them to a grove of the slender silver-barked trees they had seen from their window. Up close, their beauty was even more profound. The bark was smooth to the touch, cool and solid, yet shimmering with an almost metallic sheen. and draped over their branches, growing in thick, downy blankets, was a life form Oren had never encountered before. It was a type of moss, but so much more than moss. It was a brilliant silvery white and felt to the touch like running one's hand through the dense, cool softness of a cloud. It clung to the trees and the larger stones on the ground, creating pillows of impossibly soft texture. This Gossamer Moss, as Oren silently named it, seemed to be the source of the Vale's gentle scent, but its true wonder was revealed as a languid zephyr, a mere sigh of wind drifted through the grove. The moss did not just sway, it released a slow, silent cascade of tiny luminous spores. They did not fall to the ground, but drifted on the air currents with an impossible slowness, like tiny deliberate stars journeying through the quiet morning light. Each spore glowed with a faint internal luminescence, turning the air into a slow, glittering river of light. It was a silent, beautiful spectacle, profoundly peaceful to behold. It was here, amidst this quiet magic, that Oren first saw her. A figure was moving with a slow, gentle grace near the edge of the grove, their attention focused on a small patch of earth where a few hardy-looking herbs grew. It was Linnea. She was dressed in simple earth-toned fabrics that seemed to blend with the serene landscape. She moved with a deep, peaceful economy of motion, her hands tending to the plants with a familiarity that spoke of a long and gentle acquaintance. She seemed as much a part of the Vale as the silver-barked trees and the glowing moss. Linnea must have sensed Oren's presence, for she looked up from her work, her movements unhurried. There was no surprise in her eyes, only a calm and gentle recognition, as if she had been expecting a visitor for some time. She offered no grand greeting, no string of questions. Instead, a soft, slow smile graced her lips, a smile that was full of a quiet and simple welcome. It was a gesture that needed no reply, an assurance that one's presence here was not an intrusion, but a natural and accepted part of the day. Oren, feeling the profound peace of the moment, simply returned the smile and gave a slow, gentle nod of their own. It was a complete conversation held in the silent language of the Vale. With that, Linnea returned her serene attention to her garden, her presence, a comforting and grounding anchor in this wondrous place. Her contentment was palpable, a quiet hum of being that resonated in the very air around her, adding a soft golden hue to the lavender light of the grove. Feeling no need to speak or to draw closer, Oren found a large moss-covered stone to sit upon. The Gossamer Moss was cool and incredibly soft beneath them, a cushion provided by the Vale itself. For a long, unmeasured stretch of time, Oren simply sat and watched. They watched the slow, beautiful dance of the luminous spores. They watched the gentle, purposeful movements of Linnea as she tended her small patch of earth. They felt the soft, colored light on their skin and the gentle buoyancy in their limbs. The world had become this one simple scene, a quiet grove, a peaceful caretaker, and a slow, glittering river of light. The constant, quiet hum of thought that had been the background to Oren's life for so long had finally fallen silent. There was nothing to figure out, nothing to plan, nothing to remember. There was only the gentle reality of the present moment in all its soft, textured, and luminous beauty. It was a kind of peace Oren had only ever read about in old books, and it was as simple and as profound as breathing. Chapter 3. The Colors of Quiet. Days began to pass in a slow and gentle rhythm, each one a slight variation on a theme of profound peace. It was a low, resonant hum, almost too quiet to be heard, that eventually drew Oren from the familiar comfort of the Gossamer Grove towards the center of the Vale. The hum was not a sound that entered through the ears, but rather a feeling, a gentle vibration that seemed to rise from the very stones of the earth and resonate deep within one's chest. It was a soothing, steady pulse, like the slow and contented heartbeat of the world itself. Following this silent song, Oren arrived at a place that was clearly the heart of the Vale's gentle magic. Here, nestled in a shallow depression, were 3 perfectly circular pools of water. They were not large, perhaps only a few paces across each, but their presence was immense. The hum was strongest here, a comforting thrum that seemed to coax every muscle into a state of deep relaxation. These were the Chroma Pools, and their magic was a spectacle of silent liquid light. The water within them was as clear as spun glass, utterly transparent and still. The wonder of the pools was not in the water, but what lay beneath. From deep within the earth, a soft geothermal light pulsed upwards, and the pure water acted as a perfect lens, refracting this light into a slow, ever-shifting aurora of color. It was not a chaotic display, but a languid and graceful dance. A soft, soothing teal would slowly deepen and then melt into a gentle, warm violet. That violet would, in turn, soften and blend into a pale, hopeful peach, like the color of the sky just before dawn. The colors were muted, restful, and seemed to wash through the senses, cleansing them of any lingering sharpness from the outside world. Oren knelt at the edge of the largest pool, mesmerized by the slow and endless blossoming of color. The smooth, pale stones that lined the bank were cool to the touch and hummed with that same gentle vibration. Hesitantly at first, then with a sense of quiet trust, Oren dipped a hand into the water. It was not cold nor warm, but held the temperature of the body so perfectly that it was hard to tell where skin ended and water began. And with that contact came a feeling of utter peace, a deep and profound quietude that settled over the mind like the softest blanket. The buoyant lightness Oren had felt since arriving intensified. A pleasant feeling of being held and completely supported by the gentle water. Growing near the edges of these pools were the most curious flowers Oren had ever seen. They were shaped like perfect downturned bells, their petals a pale, almost translucent white. These were the Chime-Lilies. As Oren watched, one of the blossoms pulsed gently, its edges seeming to blur for a moment. There was no sound, no audible ring, and yet Oren felt it distinctly. It was a silent, resonant chime, a wave of pure calm that washed through their body, slowing their own heartbeat to match its serene and steady rhythm. The air around the lilies was thick with this silent music, a symphony of peace played on an instrument of light and vibration. Linnea was sometimes here, sitting on a smooth, flat stone between two of the pools. She would not be doing anything at all, simply being. She would watch the colors shift and flow with a look of soft contentment on her face, her hands resting peacefully in her lap. On seeing Oren, she would offer that same gentle, knowing smile, an unspoken invitation to share in the quiet spectacle. There was no need for words to describe the beauty of the Chroma Pools or the strange, peaceful magic of the Chime-Lilies. Their truth was not something to be spoken, but something to be felt. Oren would find a spot on the sun-warmed stones and join her in this silent observation. They would watch the liquid light of the pools paint slow, moving pictures on their hands. They would feel the silent, rhythmic pulses of the lilies wash over them again and again, each wave carrying them deeper into a state of restful awareness. The sweet, clean scent of the water and the delicate, earthy fragrance of the flowers filled the air, a perfume of pure tranquility. This was the source of the Vale's peace. It was a place where light had a color, where flowers sang a silent song, and where water could wash away the weight of a soul. It was a living, breathing sanctuary of gentle magic, and to be in its presence was to be reminded of a simple and powerful truth, that the deepest rest comes not from seeking, but from a quiet and willing stillness. Chapter 4. A Weightless Heart. The passage of time in the Vale of Somnus was not marked by the insistent hands of a clock, but by the slow, gentle shifting of the colored light in the air. Oren's days fell into a simple, unhurried rhythm, a quiet dance between the glowing moss of the grove and the silent music of the pools. The desire to measure or to plan had simply evaporated, replaced by a deep and comfortable sense of being present in each unfolding moment. The quiet cartographer had set down their tools, for the only map that mattered now was the one being drawn upon their own peaceful heart. One afternoon, as Oren sat by the Chroma Pools, watching a soft, peachy light melt into a serene blue, Linnea approached. She moved with her usual quiet grace, her bare feet making no sound in the smooth stones. In her hands, she carried two simple ceramic cups, from which a gentle wisp of steam rose to join the softly colored air. She held one out to Oren, her expression one of simple, open generosity. Her gentle smile was the only question, and Oren's answering smile was the only acceptance needed. Oren took the cup, its surface warm and slightly rough, a pleasant and grounding texture in their hands. The tea, for that is what it was, had been brewed from the small, hardy herbs in Linnea's garden. It had a delicate, faintly sweet aroma, like sun-warmed hay, and a hint of mint. They sat together on a smooth, wide bench of weathered wood that had been warmed by the vale's diffused sunlight, sipping the tea in companionable silence. The warmth of the liquid spread from Oren's chest outwards, a pleasant, blossoming heat that seemed to dissolve any last, hidden vestiges of tension. For the first time, Linnea spoke. Her voice was much like the rest of the Vale, soft, low, and unhurried. "The earth is quiet today," she said, not as a statement of fact, but as a shared observation of beauty. Oren, feeling no pressure to fill the silence with clever words, simply nodded and replied, "Yes, it is a very good quiet." And that was enough. Their shared words were like smooth stones dropped into a still pool, making gentle ripples that only enhanced the surrounding peace. As they sat, Oren became aware of a subtle shift in the air around them. The ambient light, which had been a mix of soft lavenders and blues, seemed to deepen into a richer, more contented shade of warm, gentle green. It was a color of deep and peaceful growth, of life lived without striving. It was in that moment that Oren came to a soft, intuitive understanding. The colors of the Vale were not random. They were a reflection. They were the outward expression of the quiet inner state of its inhabitants. Their shared, simple contentment was painting the very air they breathed. This realization did not come as a sharp jolt of intellect, but as a gentle dawning, like the slow arrival of the morning light. And with it came a profound sense of connection, not just to Linnea, but to the moss, the trees, the pools, and the very ground beneath them. They were all part of the same peaceful whole, each contributing their own quiet note to the Vale's silent, harmonious song. The feeling of physical weightlessness that had been so surprising upon arrival now felt entirely natural, for it had become an inner state as well. The heart, unburdened by worry or want, had become as light as the luminous spores that drifted on the air. The rest of the afternoon was spent in that easy, shared silence. They finished their tea, placing the empty cups beside them on the warm bench. They watched the gossamer spores drift by like a slow, glittering snowfall. They felt the rhythmic, calming pulses of the distant Chime-Lilies become a steady, reassuring beat within their own chests. There was no past to regret and no future to plan for, only the warm, green-tinted light of the present moment. It was a form of companionship Oren had never known, one that did not demand words or stories, but was built entirely on a shared sense of peace. In the gentle presence of Linnea and in the heart of this magical vale, Oren was learning that the deepest connections are often the quietest ones. The weightless heart asked for nothing more than this: the warmth of a simple cup of tea, the comfort of a shared silence, and the beautiful, gentle color of a peaceful afternoon. Chapter 5. The Gift of Stillness. The sky above the Vale of Somnus did not surrender tonight with a sudden darkness, but rather with a slow, graceful blush of color. The deep, contented greens of the afternoon softened into the tenderest pinks and purples of a long, unhurried dusk. The air grew cooler, carrying the clean, sweet scent of the Gossamer Moss and the damp, fertile earth. It was a time of profound quiet, when the world seemed to hold its breath in gentle reverence for the coming stars. Oren had wandered back to the Silverbark Grove, their favorite place to watch the day come to a peaceful close. Instead of sitting on a stone, they laid down upon a thick, inviting bed of the Gossamer Moss itself. The sensation was extraordinary. It was like resting on a cool, dense cloud that molded itself perfectly to their form, offering a feeling of complete and utter support. From this vantage point, looking straight up, the sky was a vast, soft canvas, and the slender, pale branches of the trees were delicate ink strokes against it. As the last vestiges of daylight faded, the magic of the vale truly awoke. The Gossamer Moss beneath and around Oren began to glow more brightly, its soft, silvery white light creating a gentle, luminous cocoon. And the spores, released by the softest breath of evening air, began their nightly dance. They were brighter now, thousands upon thousands of tiny, slow-moving stars, drifting upwards to join the real stars that were beginning to prick the deep indigo fabric of the sky. It was impossible to tell where the earth's gentle light ended and the heaven's distant sparkle began. The silent, rhythmic pulse of the Chime-Lilies, carried on the still air from the center of the vale, was a soft, steady beat, a lullaby for the world. Oren felt it in their bones, a deep and resonant hum that seemed to align every part of their being into a state of perfect harmony. Their breath deepened, slowing to a pace of incredible ease, each inhalation drawing in the cool, clean air, each exhalation a release of everything but peace. The physical lightness had become so complete that Oren felt as though they were floating, anchored to the earth only by the gentle weight of their own contentment. There was no thought of the world beyond the vale's gentle hills. The roads, the maps, the hurried pace of life, it had all dissolved, not into a forgotten memory, but into something irrelevant, like a story read long ago that no longer held any power. The journey was over, not because a final destination had been reached, but because the very need to journey, the restless seeking that had defined Oren's life, had simply melted away into the soft, glowing moss. To be here now was enough. It was everything. A profound sense of gratitude, quiet and deep, filled Oren's heart. It was a thankfulness for the path that had appeared, for the gentle magic of this place, for the silent companionship of Linnea, and for the simple, beautiful gift of stillness. The veil had not offered answers or solutions. It had offered something far more precious. It had offered a space where the questions themselves could fall silent. It had offered a quiet sanctuary where a weary spirit could not just rest, but remember how to be truly at peace. The air, now a deep and restful shade of indigo, felt like the softest blanket imaginable. The glowing spores drifted in slow, mesmerizing patterns above, their light a gentle guide into the peaceful country of sleep. Oren's eyes grew heavy, the world softening at the edges. As their consciousness began to drift, untethered and serene, they felt utterly restored, wrapped in the quiet, weightless embrace of the veil. The last thought before sleep took them was a simple, color-filled one. The deepest rest, the most profound peace, was the color of a soft, indigo night, filled with gently floating stars.